Hello everyone, it's Jo Huey here. Lately I've been very aware of people that are dealing with drinkers at the moment, people in their lives that are still quite active in their drinking, and I just wanted to offer some words of comfort, hopefully explanations for things, and to kind of start you off on, well, I suppose give you some key tools to help you right now, because right now is not the time to be thinking about how to build up your self-esteem and things like that, because you're not in that place yet, I'm guessing. So first of all, one of the things I wanted to say is about how you feel, and all of your feelings I hope you realise are very valid. And one thing I know that we can do is compare our feelings to other people's and other people's situations, and think that other people's situations and everything are worse than ours. And in some cases they may well be, but that doesn't, it shouldn't, at least in my opinion, minimise your experience. Everyone's experience, and that's the key word, experience of a situation is different. Somebody that's more resilient, got good coping strategies, is probably going to experience a difficult situation very different to somebody that hasn't got very good coping strategies and may be quite vulnerable. So even a similar situation could affect those people very differently. So really it's just about where you're at, and no one is going to be exactly where you're at and have the feelings that you feel. So it's okay to get mad, it's okay to hate the drinker, it's okay to feel guilty about stuff, or for doing things or for not doing things. I'm not saying they feel nice, but it's okay you feel like that, but it's how long we stay in these places, these unhealthy places. How long we stay there is what is important, and we don't want to stay in those places for too long. So just be very mindful of your feelings, and just actually one of the things that I started to do was, just say, actually, yeah, I'm feeling really angry, or at the moment I really hate my mum, my dad, my carer, my whoever it is. And actually just admitting that and sometimes speaking it out loud can be really liberating. And sometimes it's good because you're hearing it yourself, you're hearing your own voice saying things. So maybe you'd like to try that. So that's one thing. The next thing is, you aren't in control of the drinker, and no matter how hard you try, you are not going to be able to control their drinking, and actually you can't control anyone else's behaviours. And so one thing I'd invite you to do is reflect on all of your actions so far, because at the moment, if you're dealing with a drinker, you may well be trying to control the situation and be in the midst of it, and you'll be maybe feeling overwhelmed, lots of overthinking, maybe you're not sleeping. And what I'd like to do is just invite you to think about how much of what you've done over the, I'm guessing, years, because these things take a long time to develop, how much of what you've done over the past years have actually helped and made a change to the drinker's drinking. I'm not saying that your actions might not have helped in certain situations, but actually what difference has it made to their drinking? Has it actually reduced the drinking? Some people have taken some action and it has made a tangible difference. That depends on lots of factors. But in most cases, if we reflect back on what we've done and said, it often doesn't really change anything. So if you do that, you can reflect back and see, actually, what I've done hasn't worked. And it's not about punishing you and thinking, oh, I've wasted all this time. What it is about is learning, because actually, if you do that now, you can stop repeating those behaviours, so that you can start looking at other ways of doing things. Because like they say, if you keep doing the same things and expecting different results, that's insanity. So we need to make changes, do something different. What else have I got on my list? One of the biggest things that most professionals will advise is about boundaries. And certainly I know, as a daughter of an alcoholic, that boundaries wasn't something I even knew what they were. And I certainly didn't put them in place in my relationships, and especially with the drinker. And it wasn't until I started doing a lot more self-development that I realised and started to learn what they were. So really it's about putting some principles, some rules, I guess you could say, in place to keep yourself, two things that are very important for me, safe and sane. So these boundaries are for your benefit and the benefit of others, so they know what you're willing to accept and what you're not. And you need to respect other people's boundaries and they need to respect yours. And if they're not respecting yours, that's on you, because you need to make sure you enforce them. There's no point saying you're going to do something or not do something and then go ahead and do it and compromise yourself. So you need to think your boundaries through and think, actually, can I do it and will I do it? And if the answer to those is maybe yes, I can do it, and will I do it, no, then find another boundary, because these are your boundaries. No one can tell you what a boundary looks like, and what you're willing to put up with and what someone else is willing to put up with are two different things. This isn't going to change overnight, but at the moment, if you're in the midst of things, you need to think about the areas that are bothering you. Is it calls at 3 o'clock in the morning? Is it them turning up asking for money? Is it them turning up drunk? What are the situations that really grate on you and cause you to overthink and to worry, feel guilty about, whatever? So think of those situations and then start to think, well, what would I like? And I know that that's going to be hard for you because you are probably very used to thinking about what everyone else likes. So what is it that you want at the moment? Ideally, in an ideal world, you know, take a moment to dream for a moment, without any limitations. Don't, you know, avoid thinking, oh, that can't happen because. Just think, actually, in an ideal world, I would really appreciate it if my drunk father, mother didn't call me after 10 o'clock at night. Or, you know, I would appreciate it if they didn't ever ask me for money, because I feel really awkward saying no. And so then if you write all of these things down, then you can communicate these boundaries to the drinker when they are more coherent, and you're gonna not in the midst of when they're in a, you know, blackout session, or, you know, really over, you know, have been drinking a lot. So pick your moment. And these boundaries are, again, just pick one that you think will really help you the most and try and put that in place first, and just keep practicing it. And if you realise you notice you're compromising, make a tweak. What else can you do? Could you make it a little bit easier to start implementing first until you start feeling a little bit better and more comfortable with it? So the boundary thing is really important, especially for safety, physical safety as well. So, you know, if you need to be in a different place or have locks put on doors or whatever it may be, you just need to think that through in your situation and what will work. Because we are also very good at putting up excuses and reasons why something won't work, without asking other people for support. So you aren't alone, and there are lots of people you could ask advice. In my Daughters of Alcoholics group, we're a group of daughters, obviously, that have been in similar situations to you. So if you want ideas, then jump into the Daughters of Alcoholics Facebook group, and I'll approve your request, and we can, you know, come up with some other ideas for your specific situation. Next thing, so every adult is in control of their own life, with a few exceptions, of course. And one thing I will put to you is, because I know we can feel guilty about not saving the person that's, you know, really struggling and not helping them and not doing things for them. But would you expect somebody else to manage your life and to you could say interfere in your business, in what you do, what you choose to do, how you choose to live your life? How would you receive that information? Be honest, you know, because actually if someone started telling me how to live my life, I'm not really sure I'd be very receptive to that. So we can hopefully start to empathise and have some compassion towards the drinker, because they don't appreciate our interference. And the reason that we often get angry is because we're having to deal with the consequences of their actions, but often that's because we don't have boundaries in place. So again, we're responsible for those things. We can't complain at them and their behaviour if we're allowing that to happen. And again, I'm not saying any of this is easy and you're going to be able to do it like straight away, but the sooner you start trying to put these things in place, the easier it's going to be for you. The next thing is, it is hard for you to let go of control, because you just want to control this out of control situation, because it's having an impact on you and your life. You know, maybe you're not sleeping, maybe you're having nightmares, maybe you're fed up of waking up 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, or, you know, palming out loads of money or having to make excuses. Maybe you feel embarrassed. There's loads of things. And it's hard for family members to let go of this need to control. And we do have to get to a place where we recognise that we are powerless over the drinker. And this is just, well, I don't know if it's just as hard, but it's hard for us to do that, as it is hard for the drinker to stop drinking. We've got so many parallels between us and the drinker, it's uncanny. And I think that it's easy for us to say, oh, why can't they do this, that and the other? But we can't do some of the things ourselves. You know, we're expecting them to stop drinking, but we can't let go of their drinking. We're all consumed by it. You know, we've got reasons, we feel guilty if we don't do these things, but actually they've got reasons as well for why they're still drinking. So we're all just trying to cope and get through things. So letting up this concept of letting go, this concept of recognising that this isn't our business and we have to let this person live their life and make their choices, however severe the consequence. And I know that that is so hard to hear, and we always feel like we have to go to the ends of the earth and try everything possible to try and help this person, but eventually we usually all get to a point where we've had enough. You know, enough is enough. So at that point we're doing the very thing that actually would have benefited us earlier on. But it's this concept in our brain that we feel comfortable, the guilt's less, because we feel we've tried, you know, done loads of things to help them, and now we can take a step back and we're okay with that letting go. But it's good if we can try and get to that point without wasting, you know, lots of years. But if we're not ready to let go, just like if the drinker's not ready to let go of the drink, they won't. So just remember that, I suppose. You know, it's hard for you and it's hard for them. Last thing I've got on my list, I mean, there's so many things, but the last one I've got is about, I see this all the time, it's about being very mindful and sort of reflecting on the fact that this is not a logical issue. And we often try to apply logic to an emotional problem. And this is an emotional thing. People drink usually to block out feelings or to feel a certain way, to feel better, whatever it is. And so we can't apply logic. Like, why are you picking the drink over me? How can you do that to your children? Da, 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 da. These are all very logical things. And no, of course you wouldn't, you know, spend £10 on alcohol when you need to, you know, spend £10 on your child for food under normal circumstances. But addiction's a whole different ballgame. And so logic doesn't really come into it. And if we keep trying to apply logic to this, we're never going to get anywhere. So I just really think it's important to understand that this is an emotional issue for you and for them. And the sooner that you realise that applying that logic doesn't actually change anything or help you, I think the easier your life will be. So accepting all your feelings, one, they're valid. Avoid comparing them with other people because their experience of things is different to yours. Two is about the fact that you can't control the drinker and their drinking no matter what you do. And, you know, I've said about reflecting on your actions and what you've done to date and has it made a difference. Three is learning about your boundaries, putting those in place, making a start today, really, if you can, to look at what will help you to keep safe and sane. Four is about every adult being in control of their own life, and that all wraps up with us being overly responsible and allowing other people to be responsible for their own lives. And then letting go of the control and recognising you're powerless over the drinker and subsequently alcohol. And then the last one is about being mindful about this logical thinking, you know, and applying logic to an emotional issue. So they're my top tips if you're in the midst of all the drama. I hope that's been helpful. Please do get in touch with me because I have a rescue pack that I've put together for people that are currently, you know, trying to cope with, the difficulties of being affected by someone's drinking. So please email me, joe@joehuey, that's HUEY.co.uk. Or remember, you can come into the Daughters of Alcoholics Facebook group and join me in there. And I'm more than happy to give you some support and to send you the rescue pack document. Take care and look after yourself.